Good day, Royals. This is Fasi Sara. I am going to discuss to you the basic concepts of disaster readiness and risk reduction. Are you ready? Okay, so you may be used to hearing news about hurricanes, earthquakes, or volcanic eruptions. Many of us may have experienced disaster because of these natural phenomena, which are no longer considered news. So, Philippines experienced most of the natural events mentioned because of its position with the Ring of Fire. So, are you familiar with the Ring of Fire? So, the Ring of Fire, also referred to us as the Circum-Pacific Belt, is a path along the Pacific Ocean characterized by active volcanoes and frequent earthquakes. The majority of Earth's volcanoes and earthquakes take place along the Ring of Fire. 75% of Earth's volcanoes, more than 450 volcanoes, are located along the Ring of Fire. 90% of Earth's earthquakes occur along its path, including the planet's most violent and dramatic seismic events. So as you can see on the map, that Philippines is one of the countries that are belong to the Ring of Fire. That's why marami tayong nararamdaman ng earthquakes and marami ding volcano. That's why um, nagkakaroon ng maraming volcanic eruptions. So, but what is a natural event? Okay. And when does a natural event become hazard? Okay, so a natural event can be likened to a weak concrete fence that could collapse even with just a slight push. It does not pose a threat to anything or anybody if there is nothing or no one nearby. Okay, so ang natural event daw halimbawa natin sa isang building na nag-collapse pero walang nasaktan na tao. So tinatawag natin siyang natural event. So, ah, kailan nga ba nagiging natural disaster ang isang natural event or hazardous event? So, a hazardous event causes unacceptably large number of fatalities and overwhelming property damage. So, tinatawag siyang natural disaster. Kapag marami nang nasaktan o ng mga tao, o marami na siyang nasira, tinatawag na siyang natural disaster. So, natural events are often referred as a natural hazard. Okay? So, when referring to the general phenomenon, then they are called natural disaster. So, when referring to a specific event such as the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami or Hurricane Katrina. So, always remember, students, a hazard becomes a disaster when it happens where many people are living or have their livelihoods and causes damage to them and their property. So, natin siyang hazard. Tinatawag natin ang hazard na disaster kapag marami nang nasirang mga um, property, marami nang nasirang mga livelihoods, maraming nasaktan na mga tao. Okay, so tinatawag siyang disaster. Ano nga ba yung mga example ng isang natural disaster? So, example is during a flood, many people drown or are injured, lose their animals and their property. Okay, so those are example of natural disaster. So let's go to disaster risk. So risk is a combination of three components. So what are those? We have the hazard, exposure, and vulnerability. So when you say hazard, it is a potentially destructive physical phenomenon. So ano yung example ng hazard? We have the earthquake, a windstorm, and a flood. Common natural hazards include floods, volcanic eruption, hurricane, drought, tsunami, landslide, and more. Next is exposure. So, the location, attributes, and value of assets that are important to communities. So that is what we call the exposure. What are the example of exposure? We have people, buildings, factories, farmland, etc. Okay, so next is vulnerability. Vulnerability, the likelihood that assets will be damaged, destroyed, affected, then exposed to a hazard. Okay. So for an example of a vulnerability, so a building with multiple floors may be more vulnerable to shaking from an earthquake. So kapag kapag mas mataas yung building, mas maraming floors sa building na yon, um, mas mataas ang vulnerability niya. Okay, na mag-collapse kaysa daw sa isang floor lang na building. Okay? So, ano pa ba ang ibang example? Halimbawa naman sa yung mga matatanda daw ay mas vulnerable daw sila sa impact ng flooding kasi they have a harder time evacuating or moving quickly than those sa mga mas bata. Okay? So, naiintindihan ba? Okay. Next is characteristic of disasters. A characteristic of disaster. As a disaster are basically unexpected or happen quickly with little or no warning. So as a result, natural disaster cause significant number of deaths, injuries, and property damage. In fact, there is some truth in the saying that what hurts you is what you cannot see. This highlights the need for timely warning and quality risk related information provided by effective monitoring and warning agencies. So disaster cannot be managed through normal means. This requires immediate and effective intervention of both national government agencies and non-government organization or NGO to help meet the needs of the victims. So disaster creates demands beyond the capacity of a government. During a disaster, the situation is usually beyond the capabilities of local government units or national government to respond and handle. So when the president declares a state of emergency, respond and response and recovery program should be formulated and implemented both by the public and non-government entities. So the following also characterize disasters. So bullet number one, knows no political boundary, requires restricted and new responding organizations, create new tasks and requires more people as disaster responder, renders inutile routine emergency response equipment and facilities, worsen confusion in understanding roles of people and organization. Next is exposes lack of disaster planning response and coordinations. So next is the impacts of disaster. So these are the examples of the impacts of disaster. Number one is medical effects. So the medical effects of disaster include traumatic injuries, emotional stress, epidemic disease, and indigenous diseases. Okay, number two, damage to critical facilities. So the widespread disaster can destroy or damage facilities that may be critical not only in maintaining a safe environment and public order, but also in responding the disaster. Next is disruption of transportation. The restricted mobility of vehicles makes rescue and other emergency operations doubly difficult. Number four, economic impact. As a result of the destruction and damage to critical facilities, especially to transportation and communication facilities, disaster disrupt economies as normal business operation and other economic activities are curtailed. Number five, the global environmental change. Although the long range consequences are hard to predict, more severe cyclonic storms, an increase in both flooding and drought, and a trend toward desertification cannot be ruled out. These changes could result in a wide range of more hazards. Lastly, the social and political impact. As a large segment of population in developing countries consists the poor who are the most vulnerable whenever a disaster strikes, these countries are the most affected. Okay, so let's go to vulnerability of each exposed elements. So what is vulnerability? It is the degree of loss to each element should hazard of a given severity to occur. Social, environmental, and economic factors of vulnerability. So we have the social. So certain population groups may be more vulnerable than others. For example, the very young and the old are most exposed to hazard than any other age groups. A rapidly changing population is more vulnerable as health, economic growth, and mobility issues are more pronounced. The next one is environmental. Compared with developed countries, developing nations face more exposure and vulnerability because of their relative inability to adapt to changes and to create wealth that may enhance resilience. Rapid urbanization in hazardous areas heightens vulnerability to disaster risks. So lastly, the economic. So, economic vulnerability is the susceptibility of individuals, communities, business, and governments to absorb or cushion the effects of hazard event. Rural households are found to be more vulnerable than those in urban environments because of the greater number of people living in poverty. This is tied to the more limited access to markets and other service. So, so what is a hazard again? So hazards are the potentials for damage to man and his environment that may result from the occurrence of natural events such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, floods, and storm surge. So, such events do not constitute a hazard. It is only when man and his environment are threatened that these events can be considered hazard. Without a threat to population, the eruption of an isolated volcano remains an event. But when a volcanic activity occurs close to or right at the center of a populated area, a mere event becomes hazard. Okay, so let's go to the types of hazards. So the number one is we have the geologic hazards. So what are the examples of geologic hazards? We have earthquakes, volcanic eruption, rainfall-induced landslides, rapid sediment movement, subsidence, sinkhole formation, and then impacts with space objects. Okay, next is we have the hydrologic hazards. So what are those? We have floods, wave action, drought, rapid glacier advance. Next, atmospheric hazard. Okay, we have the typhoons or hurricanes, thunderstorm, excessive rainfall, tornadoes, heavy snowfall, hail, blizzard, glaze storm, freezing rain, high wind speed, extreme temperatures, and lightning. Okay, so those are the example of atmospheric hazards. Next is the biologic hazards. Okay, so the examples of biologic hazards, di ba, yung recently the COVID-19. Okay, that is also an example of biologic hazards. Okay, we have the epidemic in humans, epidemic in plants, epidemic in animals. Lastly, we have the man-made hazards. Okay, so what are those? Transport accidents, industrial explosion and fires, accidental release of toxic chemicals, radiological material, biologic material, nuclear accidents, ano pa, collapse of public buildings, weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so what determines the severity of hazard? Number one is we have the duration. So the length of time that a hazard lasts for. Okay, as a general rule, the longer the hazard, the more severe it is likely to be. Ano nga ba yung example nito? Kapag ang earthquake ay nag-last ng 1 minute, it is more severe kaysa sa earthquake na nag-last ng 2 seconds. Okay, so that is an example of duration. Next is magnitude. This is the strength of hazard. Okay, so most hazard are mini-measure sa Richter scale or the volcanic explosivity index. So, generally speaking, the stronger the hazard, the more severe the hazard is. Next is predictability. So, some hazards are easier to predict than others. 'Di ba? For an example, kapag merong volcanic eruption, 'di ba? Nagbibigay ng warning ang pillbox, 'di ba? Pero kapag walang warning, ang example ng mga walang warning ay earthquakes, 'di ba? Mas generally speaking, mas nakakatakot yung mga walang warning, yung hindi natin nape-predict, 'di ba, kung kailan. Hindi katulad kapag volcanic eruption nape-predict natin kung mag-e-erupt ba yung volcano. So next is regularity. If hazard happens often and in quick succession. So an earthquake followed by multiple aftershocks, then the severity is likely to be greater. Kapag mayroong earthquake and then sunod-sunod naman ang aftershock nito, then mas malaki yung severity niya. Okay, ano pang halimbawa, during hurricane seasons, countries can be hit by repeated storm, each causing greater damage because it has not been possible to recover from previous damage. For ang example nito, may bagyong dumating, Yolanda, and then after a month, may bagyo na namang darating. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na mahirap kapag um, repeated yung nangyayaring hazard. So next is frequency, the return interval of hazard of certain sizes. For example, earthquakes with a magnitude of over 8 happen on average once a year, but earthquakes of only 3 or 4 uh, happen many times a day. If the hazard is a less frequent strong event, then it is going to have a bigger impact. Okay, that is frequency. Next is speed of onset. If the peak of the hazard arrives first or arrives quickly, an earthquake, then the effects are likely to be worse than the one that arrives slowly. Example noon yung arrives slowly drought. Next is number 7, spatial concentration, where hazards are located or centered. For example, earthquakes tended to be focused along plate boundaries, whereas tropical storm tend to be located in coastal areas in the tropics. Hazards that are located in known areas can be better prepared for and managed better. Next is aerial extent. If a hazard covers a large area, example, a drought covering the whole of East Africa, then the severity of the hazard is likely to be more severe than a flood hitting just one village. Lastly, the number of hazards. If a location is hit by multiple hazards, that the effects can be more severe. For example, hazard hotspot like Indonesia can be hit by earthquake, volcanoes, landslide, and flooding all simultaneously. Okay, so let's go to hazard identification, assessment, and mapping. So we have here the hazard mapping. So when you say hazard mapping, it is the process identifying the spatial variation of a hazard events or physical condition. Through this process, one side of the hazard exposure vulnerability risk triangle may be displayed in hazard maps. A hazard map is quite useful in communicating vital information about the spatial variation of size and potential intensity of a particular hazard. Okay, so thank you for listening. Okay, I hope you learned a lot from me. So, so that's all. Goodbye.